In this video, Ryu will meet face-to-face with Yamti. But before that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. Let's reach 3,000 likes. Lee Seong-hyun, who had awakened from the other guy's scream a while ago, blinked and asked, "What's going on? Who are you guys?" Yamti said, "Wait a moment. Let me get some rope to tie him up." While Yamti went to get a rope, Lee Seong-hyun got up from his seat, and one said, "Hey, old man, sit down, sit." He said, "These guys, do you know what you've done? You kidnapped a member of the National Assembly, you idiots." One smiled and said, "So what? If we want, we can kidnap the president." He inquired, "What?" Another added, "Besides, we're going to kill you soon. But we're not the ones killing you, though. We'll be treated as heroes of the nation." Listening to the laughter of the criminals, Lee Seong-hyun furrowed his brows and said, "What the hell are these guys talking about?" Yamti, who had returned, pressed her finger to her lips as if to signal them to be quiet, and said, "Don't reveal the plan so recklessly." Then she approached Lee Seong-hyun, who wore a bewildered expression, and said to him, "All right, I've brought the rope. Please sit quietly in the chair." He shouted, "You fucking butch! What are you doing?" She said calmly, "Let me ask you, what are you trying to do, Congressman? You've already figured out the situation. You know we're kidnapping you and soon you'll die. So why are you provoking me?" Then she smiled as if she figured out something and said, "You're eager to go see your son, huh?" He was shocked and inquired what. Yamti added, "Don't worry. Soon we'll send you to your son." He said angrily, You feckin' bitch!" Suddenly, Yamti made eye contact with Lee Seong-hyun and ordered, "Stay still. We'll send you off nicely. Don't you want to see your son?" Lee Seong-hyun's movements ceased, as if he had given up on life, and said yes. Seeing that, one inquired, "Oh, what happened to him?" "He turned into a puppy in front of Yamti." Another said, as expected of Yamti. The observing executives were impressed, but for Yamti, it was an easy task. Then Yamti sighed inwardly as she read the message that appeared on Lee Seong-hyun's enchantment. Ordinary Lee Seong-hyun has been enchanted. 1. Song Jae-gyum, ordinary. 2. Doll plus I, player. 3. Lee Seong-hyun, ordinary. 4. None. 5. None. And she said, "I've used up the enchantment slot again." In fact, she wanted to save the slots if possible, but there were only 2 left now. Then she added, "Well, using the enchantment will make things easier," as it seemed impossible to make Lee Seong-hyun behave himself. After that, she looked at them and said, "In a little while, Chairman will come with 6 criminals. Get ready as soon as they arrive." They said yes. After tying Lee Seong-hyun to the chair and covering his face with a black bag, they placed a cell phone camera on a stand in front. Yamti inquired, "Is everything set?" One said, "Yes. With a press of a button, we can start streaming live on YouTube." She smiled and said, "Good." Then one inquired, "Yamti, what about the criminals?" She replied, "Chairman will bring them here soon. Just wait a little longer." At that moment, the door opened, and everyone's attention focused on it. However, the expectant expressions soon turned to disappointment. The person who entered was not the chairman, but Lostyak, or our boy Ryu. Yamti inquired, "Why did you come here? Shouldn't someone be watching over there? Could it be that the police are already tracking us?" Ryu replied, "No, it's not that." She asked, "Then why did you come in?" He replied, "I got tired of just watching, and I was curious about how things would turn out." Yamti, who sighed in disbelief, suddenly opened her eyes wide and said, "Hey, Lostyak, do you have any idea how important today is?" Ryu said, "Yes," she said, "but why are you acting like an idiot? I told you to keep watch. We need to finish the performance before the police arrive." He inquired, "Before the criminals we recruited arrive, you mean?" She replied, "That's right, but Chairman isn't here." Ryu smiled and said, "True. Why isn't the chairman coming?" Yamti felt something was off. Lostyak's atmosphere was subtly different from before, and she asked him, "Did you just use informal language with me?" Ryu nonchalantly replied, "Yeah." She asked angrily, "Did you forget that I'm your senior?" Ryu shrugged, his tone indifferent, and said, "Seniority doesn't mean much in this world." Yamti chuckled wryly, realizing the futility of arguing, and said, "Ha, you've really lost it now, haven't you?" But Yamti decided to set aside their linguistic disagreement for the time being, given the pressing situation, and said, "For now, let's put that aside because of the urgency. We can discuss it later, formally with the chairman." Ryu, however, didn't let the matter go, and asked, "So why isn't the chairman showing up in this urgent situation?" Yamti glanced at the cabin's wall clock, her brows furrowing, and asked herself, why isn't he showing up at this time? It was already the time when 6 ordinary criminal members should have arrived. Yamti couldn't fathom why the chairman was disobeying her orders. He would have shown up even if it meant sacrificing his own life. And when her anxiety increased, Yamti picked up her phone and dialed the chairman's number, and she muttered under her breath, "Why the hell aren't you answering the phone, fuck?" Ryu raised an eyebrow, catching her unintended expletive, and inquired, "Are you cursing at the chairman right now?" Embarrassed, Yamti stammered and said, "Oh, I was just talking to myself." Ryu, unfazed, remarked, "Oh, but you're completely clueless." Yamti was taken aback and inquired what. Ryu's tone was mocking, and he said, "I did this much and you still haven't caught on?" Yamti lowered the phone, her expression now a mix of bewilderment and irritation, and inquired, "What are you trying to do?" Ryu said, "What do you mean?" She inquired, "Is the chairman not showing up because of you?" Ryu's response was less than courteous, as he said, "You seriously have no clue. You're only realizing it now." Yamti abandoned her formal language, growing increasingly exasperated, and said, "Hey, what's wrong with you? Where's he?" Ryu said, "Huh? Are you seriously using informal language with the chairman again? It's as if he's your subordinate?" Yamti said angrily, "What kind of day is it today? Why is everyone acting like this? Do they really underestimate me just because I'm a woman?" She couldn't hold back any longer. The traitor who had disrupted all their plans stood before her. Then she demanded, locking eyes with Lost Yak, and said, "Look at me properly. A bastard like you should have been screened out a long time ago. Ah, it's my mistake. Really." She sighed, her voice tinged with regret. With an almost resigned air, she activated the enchantment and said, "Hey, where's the chairman? Tell me now and speak properly." But Ryu's response caught her off guard. As he inquired, "Why should I?" Yamti was momentarily stunned and asked, "What did you say?" Ryu replied, "I said, why should I answer you, bitch?" In fact, Ryu's brazenness knew no bounds. Yamti was left speechless, her frustration palpable. She couldn't help but feel stunned, as if she had been hit in the back of the head with a hammer. She had seduced dozens of men, but this was the first time someone reacted this way. Then she said to herself, "This is strange. I'm sure I've used it correctly. Could it be that the Lost Yak is not a man as it appears, or has the slot already been filled up? No. There are definitely 2 slots left." Yamti ordered again for confirmation. "Where is the chairman?" Ryu continued to provoke her and said, "Why do you keep giving me orders, you crazy bitch?" As Yamti opened her eyes in disbelief, a message she had overlooked for a moment appeared in her vision. A powerful mental barrier is blocking the enchantment. You can't seduce the player, Black Scythe. Yamti couldn't help but be surprised by something other than the fact that the enchantment didn't work, and she said to herself, "What? It's not Lost Yak, but Black Scythe." In fact, the rune of enchantment is a deceptive rune. Regardless of a player's level or the heights of human renown they may reach, this rune entraps them without fail. And in the presence of Yamti, everyone is compelled to bow their heads. But now, it's not working. No matter how many times she tried, no matter how intently she gazed and attempted to bewitch, all that awaited her were messages indicating that her rune was stopped by an unyielding mental barrier. Then she asked herself, why doesn't it work? Why? Yamti found herself not only pondering this puzzle, but also something else, her opponent's nickname, revealed in the messages, Black Scythe. And she said to herself, is the person standing before me now not Lost Yak, but Black Scythe? It turned out that the identity of the Lost Yak I had known all along was, in fact, Black Scythe. And who would have imagined that Black Scythe, the top priority recruit, would be right by my side? Then Yamti stuttered, trying to say something. You, Ryu interrupted her with an evil smile and said, "Oh, did you notice? My nickname. It's quite the cunning rune, isn't it? It even exposes real nicknames." She inquired, "How do you know about my rune?" In an instant, Ryu's gaze turned ice cold and said, "I've told you many times. Why do I have to respond to your questions?" At that moment, a gulp echoed in the tense silence, and under the weight of this tension, Yamti observed Ryu in silence for a while, and she said to herself, a man who cannot be enchanted. That's Black Scythe. In fact, since becoming a player, he was the first man to make Yamti this nervous. Then she said to herself, what should I do now? Judging by the atmosphere, he's not doing this with good purpose. But considering that the chairman's name still lingered on the enchantment list, it appeared that he hadn't killed him yet, and he must want something since he's not killing me right away. But it couldn't be resolved through sheer force. After all, her opponent was the renowned Black Scythe, so somehow she had to solve this through conversation. With the thought that perhaps, if she handled it well, she could work things out, Yamti made a proposition and said, Black Scythe, if you tell me what you want, I'll do my best to accommodate it. But suddenly, one of the executives asked Yamti Neem, do you have any issues? Sensing that something was amiss in the atmosphere, the executives drew near. They had strategically positioned themselves, ready for any scenario to make a favorable impression on Yamti. In an instant, Ryu smiled and said, look at these idiots. But Yamti sensed a peculiar aura from that smile.